Welcome to the Health Hour of the Home and Health Show here on WMUZ 1035 The Light. This morning, we welcome Julie Lamphere and Dave Sanders of Brain Life Center. Now, here's your host, Mike McIntyre.
WMUZ 1035 The Light, Detroit made Bible strong. Hi, good morning. It's the Home and Health Show. Happy to be here. Michael Thomas McIntyre. That's the voice you're hearing. I go by Mac. You hear me from 4 to 7 during the week, too, here on WMUZ. Real pleasure to be in here with our great business leaders and community leaders and health leaders and home leaders. We bring so many cool people in here to educate you and give you opportunities to feel better and to make your homes look better. It's a pretty good show, and I'm glad you're here this morning. David and Julie from Brain Life Center are happy to be joining me today. The dark cloud, the fog, the lack of concentration, the inability to sleep, the inability to absorb information. So many of us have it, and you guys have a solution, which is awesome. So tell us about it.
Well, I think first off, we've been doing this for 10 years now in the Detroit area. The technology that's kind of the base technology we use has been around for about 18 years. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we come across on a regular basis is that sounds too good to be true. So we're always trying to overcome that. We've had the benefit of helping thousands of people in the Detroit area. And so every week we have these amazing stories. And we're always asking ourselves, how do we share this with the public so they understand this is science-based? It's reality. Mm-hmm. It's obviously dependent on computer technology, like a smartphone. And I suppose trying to share that we've got this smartphone that's really cool, that helps the brain improve itself. It's been a bit of a puzzle. Mm-hmm. So that's obviously why we're talking to you. But the key is it's a completely non-intrusive technology. We place these little sensors in different locations around the head. It picks up information from the functioning brain. It picks it up live. When you hear your brain live, it tends to self-correct and self-correct very quickly. So people who are struggling with sleep, sometimes 20, 30 years, they're suddenly sleeping really well. People with anxiety, people with a sense of hopelessness, lack of motivation, focus and concentration. I mean, if you think of how the brain helps us out day to day, having a fully functioning brain is very helpful.
Yeah, the reason it sounds too good to be true is for real. People come to us with these issues after years and years of suffering, and now they're getting results in a few months. Yeah. And that does sound too good to be true. I mean, people have suffered, they've taken medications, they've tried all these different things. So I have a little story from a woman here, Lori. I think the best thing is when people can tell their own story. And she is one who struggled for years, came to us, and it changed her life.
How was your sleep back then? How is it doing now compared to where it was?
It's really, really great now compared to what it was. I was having awful nightmares, screaming, waking myself up in the middle of the night, and they're gone completely. I still have dreams, but they seem pleasant, and I don't wake up. So I'm actually sleeping for a change, and I feel like I'm functioning on all cylinders now because I'm actually getting sleep instead of not.
You even mentioned that one of your friends at work, she had noticed some things about you. Tell me a little bit about what she said.
I have several friends that had noticed a difference in me. My attitude, they said, you seem like your old self again. Your smile's back. The color's back in your face. And, things like that. And I didn't tell all of them. I only told very close friends about doing this because people are skeptical. Yeah. And so I didn't want to share with too many. And actually one of the ones that didn't know anything about it was one of the ones that noticed the most. She kept saying, you seem so much happier, and your energy level is back, and you just seem like your old self again. And I said, yeah, I do. I feel a lot better. When my husband passed away, our children, my stepdaughters, decided they didn't want me in their family anymore, so that was also really traumatic. And then I lost a stepfather not long before. I lost my husband, and then recently I lost a sister-in-law in June. And I have health concerns as well. So all of those things were just really weighing heavily on me. And I knew that somewhere in there, I had the ability to get better. So when I read about all of this, I said, this sounds just like what I need. It's the rebalancing of your brain. I mean, it just means that you're going to get back what you already had, but it's just you're getting all the junk out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great analogy.
And it
that's
did.
The feeling.
It felt like the fog was lifted out of my mind, and it's clear now. It's like all the junk is gone, and I can focus again. I feel like I'm a real person all over again instead of a person walking around in a fog.
Well, there you call it, the dark fog. She was in it, now she's out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Incredibly common. We talk a lot. We've got our office. We're about a year in Auburn Hills. Mm-hmm. It's our biggest facility to date. We got to design it around the new technology, and we're looking at the population around us. Within 30 miles of us, there's over 2 million people, and we're looking into this, and we're seeing the sleep. The thousands and thousands of people that are not sleeping, the hopelessness, the struggle with these dark moods. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's for some people, they end up isolating themselves. They can't go out of the house.
Been there.
And so the impact this has on themselves, their families, their coworkers, if they can hold the job, it's for so many people, it's totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. And we just want people to know this exists. It's right here in the area. And we're hoping you'll come and look at it and just see what we're doing. We want you to see how this is working out.
It's a very, very fun process to go through. I know it is hard to explain it to the common person that's listening. That's why we do this program, because it's not some weird science experiment. It's not some chemically induced, strange, alter thing that you have to go into. It's a very simple, relaxing atmosphere. And it's cool because your brain, it mirrors your brain. And as you've said before, there's a natural healing process that God intended for our brains to happen. We just need more people to know about it.
Exactly.
When I first got to town 3 years ago, these were some of the people I first met when I got here to WMUZ, and they were able to help me after a big move, after coming 500 miles away from living someplace for 10 years. Yes, back to where I grew up and where I was from, but I hadn't been here in a quarter century. I'm in a new house. Half of my family's still in Nashville. I already was dealing with anxiety. I was having some concentration issues. I'm at a new job. I had every single aspect that you could have to want to see the folks at Brain Life. And I know I'm not the only one out there in the audience today that is experiencing some of this stuff. And that's why David and Julie are here. So, guys, thanks for coming in again. Let's keep the conversation rolling. It's always insightful.
Yeah, you mentioned that people sometimes don't realize, and maybe even especially as a Christian, that these are things that so many of their brothers and sisters are dealing
Absolutely.
with. I mean, we've seen thousands of people. And one of the ones that's kind of embarrassing and hard for people to share is sometimes depression.
Yes, it is.
Or the dark moods, And my husband, before we started this work, struggled with depression. So I know what it's like to have a family member who...
It's tough.
Yeah, they can't see outside of the depression. So they don't recognize the impact it's having on their family. And the family is kind of walking on eggshells because they don't want to upset the apple cart, right? And it's really difficult. And I didn't realize till after he went through this process and the depression lifted what an impact it had on me.
Right.
And when I think back, it's even hard for me to remember now because it's been 10 years and
Sure.
I haven't had to do that. So this, we're going to be talking a little more of a gentleman named Frank who shares his story and how it impacted his family as well. But I want people to know that they are not alone, that many people around you aren't sharing because they're uncomfortable, but they really are struggling as well. And we need to reach out to one another and be
Absolutely.
transparent and talk about this and get the help we need.
And I want to say this too, there is a stigma that comes with this, and this is not David and Julie's words, but these would be my words because I've been through this experience, and I know many have that I talk to on WMUZ because I've been very transparent about this and my depression and my anxiety since coming to this radio station. Shame on you churches that are shaming people in your congregations that have this. Prayer is helpful. Spiritual warriors are helpful. Small groups are helpful. But sometimes there is an extension that has to happen with people like Dave and Julie that are able to relieve your symptoms. So please, if you have depressed people in your congregation, in your church, don't push them to the street. They're isolated enough already, and they will go even deeper, being rejected by the people that they love the most. And it's something I've experienced, so I'm just telling you that from my heart. I'm not here to preach, but it's the truth. And this is a disease, but it can be controlled in a myriad of ways, and one of them is technology, which is exciting stuff, Dave.
Yeah, it makes it, for some people, it makes it manageable. For some people, it goes away. But it's amazing how many people recognize, in contrast, when it's all said and done. A couple of weeks later, we get to sit down, talk with them, and they're like, wow. One guy said, as I've told you, it feels like you guys took a big backpack full of bricks off my back.
60
and I
pounds
did
down.
not realize I was carrying that load.
Yeah.
And this is just the brain wanting to self-correct. And if you think about, what you do in the morning when you look in the mirror, you use a really complex reflection to help you do things like do your hair, shave, put your makeup on, and so on. I want people to know this is as passive as that reflection.
Right.
But it is incredibly powerful. The brain wants these other perspectives to improve its own ability to function.
Yeah.
And so it's really that passive and comfortable as looking in the mirror, maybe more comfortable because you get to lay down in a chair.
Yeah.
We're putting
dark.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of people come to really love those tech rooms.
Oh, they're
We've got
fantastic.
that gravity-free chair,
Yeah.
and they get to relax. Sometimes they're sleeping as deep as they've slept for the first time in a while.
You're 100% correct.
Yeah, it's like a place of a lot of peace and calm. And it's wonderful when the sort of veil, that dark cloud, lifts. And people are like, okay, I'm back.
What world was I living in? Or some, like for me, and you just said it a couple sentences ago, you're so used to being in that world, you just think that's normal.
That's right.
And you begin to live your life deflecting whatever it is around you that you think is odd to you. But when you're really living with kind of tunnel vision, not necessarily tunnel vision, but you're so insulated in your own thoughts about why you're not feeling well and why you're not concentrating and how sometimes you just feel a little bit better as long as you stay home. And if you're not in a big group, then everything seems to be okay. So I guess I won't go to church this Sunday because there's so many people there and it just makes me feel like I'm in a box and my hands sweat. But if I'm sitting in my backyard and I'm on my chair and I got a book, I'm okay. So you start to live your life like that, and suddenly you realize you haven't been to church in 3 months.
Yeah.
You haven't talked to any of your people in social situations in 6 months, and they don't understand, so they think that what's wrong with this guy or this girl? Did I make them mad? Did we do something that's pushed this person away?
Yeah.
And it becomes this giant convoluted world that all these people that love you are living in.
Yes.
And Julie just said it earlier. You don't realize how much it affects the person who is not living this life. So
yeah. And this next gentleman, Frank, that Julie was just mentioning, he was impressed. He didn't realize the impact it had on the family. So he's getting feedback from his son, from his wife. It's really amazing, and then that opens his eyes to, wow, I was carrying something around, and this was affecting my family deeply.
I'm a different person. I'm alive, and I've never had a level. It was either high or low, almost bipolar, but not that fast. But I've never had a medium, and now I've just got a medium. It's amazing. I told you earlier, I couldn't believe that people actually feel like this all the time. That's amazing. I didn't know anybody could feel like this all the time. It's awesome. I think so. I just feel more relaxed. I'm more focused. I'm more alive. Colors are brighter. The world seems, I've had thoughts of suicide. And
hard to imagine now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine now.
Man, that is some powerful stuff right there. Something that I can really, really, really relate to. I mean, I don't think ever suicidal, but you certainly become this different person and you become disconnected, and it's really, really difficult. And my wife used to say to me that my physical appearance changed. I always had like a stern look, and I'll tell you why I did. For me personally, and these are just my symptoms, I felt that if I was in this concentration mode, which made me look like I was uptight, it literally was me saying to myself, you can fight this out, man. You're not going to get dizzy. You're not going to fall over. You're not going to pass out. Everything's okay. And when you get that grit and determination, at least your brain, it comes out on your face as being sort of, I had a lot of people tell me, that I look standoffish, or that I look like I had some arrogance to me because I would avoid being in social aspects.
Yeah,
I couldn't walk into a crowd. And it really hurt me because I'm not that kind of person. And obviously, neither is Frank.
Right.
But it hurts you. And then that adds even more of a level of self-loathing, if that's maybe too strong of a word, maybe not. But I would feel like, man,
it's definitely a spiral.
Now everybody thinks I'm a jerk. Not only am I antisocial, but they think I'm an idiot when I walk into the room because I'm just trying to keep myself from falling over.
Feels like it's stacking up. It is. It is fun to hear him talk about his wife's experience. And what did he say about his face, Julie?
She told him, and he shared that, right? That his wife said he had a hostile resting face. And
right, exactly.
He was angry a lot prior to this process.
Yeah, sure.
And you're sharing, you're working so hard to just be, and we don't have to do that. We're meant to be free. We are meant to be free of these things.
Well, and you can even go through the Bible and read a lot about Scripture about being away from fear, about being away from anger, about being free in terms of your spirit and allowing that aspect of it to come in. But boy, when you can get the kind of help that you're offering and you can bring both of those together, wonderful results happen.
Yeah, I love the fact when I brought all 4 of my sons in. Every one of them for different reasons. One was a big deal, right? Brain injuries. One was just anxiety. But knowing that it was safe, that it was a natural approach, that the brain wanted to reset, boy, that was an awesome feeling as a father.
For those of us that are out there individually that just, want to move forward, your friend and your client, Amy, she certainly had experienced some hopelessness and she had family issues and she really sets us up for another great story here. Do we want to hear from her?
Yeah, I want to just put it in the mind when you're listening to this story that her circumstances did not change. Her brain changed, and it changed how she was dealing with her circumstances. Because a lot of people think it's the circumstances.
Right.
So let me have her share her story for you.
I don't live in a fog anymore. My memory is totally different. I didn't know how bad I was until it was done and over with. I believe 100% that God was 100% behind it, and for me to find this place and to for it to open up doors for my family. And it didn't just affect me, it affected my family.
That's awesome.
Before, I just felt like there was nothing left. I've been a stay-at-home mom since my kids were, Jordan's 20, so always. And now they're driving and they're teenagers and all that stuff, and I just felt like they didn't need me anymore. I wasn't needed, I didn't have a purpose. And now I'm actually babysitting for a friend who can't afford her daycare. I am volunteering with my daughter's softball. There's just a lot of stuff that I'm finding that I have more purpose than I ever even knew I had purpose for.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome.
It is exciting.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes.
Well, there you go. It's a clear example of the sense of hopelessness that you can feel when you're in that world.
What Julie points out, how it affects everybody, how the family sees you. She was going through a change in life that a lot of people go through, and then suddenly she realizes, life is really good.
There's a lot more.
There's a lot I can do, and now she's contributing,
right?
And she's doing it and feeling good about it. I mean, it's just a win-win.
Well, I heard as she transitioned from feeling like when she started to empty nest and then the kids started to get the cars and naturally they want to be on their own and independent, where you kind of feel like, okay, my job's done. Now what do I do? And then to hear her come out of the program and go, yeah, but now I'm babysitting and now I'm helping somebody out who can't afford daycare. That's about as cool of a ministry as you can do for somebody.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
I feel like we get to play a part in that. Like
that's huge.
As we
What a
break
reward.
free, as Christians break free of these things that are stopping them, they are able to do so much more. And I love that we get to help people do that.
Yeah, it's a tremendous feeling. Let's talk about Tony, because she, again, falls into this category of hopelessness and sleep issues and families and just a lot of stuff going on. And I think these are real important, as you've stressed during the program, for our audience to hear real people in real life that have gone through some things that they may be experiencing right now.
Yeah, this is a fun one because Tony came to us about 7-8 years ago. And then we connected about a month ago. And she just wanted to, check in, let us know how she's doing. She did a single session. And
wow.
she wanted to see the new office.
Yeah.
And she's doing great. And it's just fun to connect 7-8 years later.
Cool.
And what a difference it's made. She has even suggested, well, I'll let her speak for herself, but just know that massive shift with her marriage, massive shift at work, massive shift with her family. And
amazing.
She's just excited to share her story.
I love this woman. She just warms my heart. So here she is.
So I don't even know how many years ago, at least 7-8 years ago, I was in a really bad state. I wasn't sleeping. I hadn't slept well for, I want to say 4 or 5 months, which then spiraled into some major depression and was kind of at my rope's end. I didn't know where to go, what to do, and my husband and I prayed about it and just kind of got online and said, hey, what can I do for sleep deprivation and depression? And I called you and Dave, and from there came in, and I was a mess. I remember you guys just held my hand, took me through it. My husband was there so that I could understand, because even though you were putting it in very simplistic terms about how it would help, I was not in a good state to even understand what you were saying. And so I went through I don't know what you guys call it at this point, but where you went through 7 or 10 sessions. I went through the basic, and then I left and went to my brother's house for a little while, and for about a week to visit, and started to slowly notice a difference as far as the sleeping. It took 3-4 weeks. But I started to slowly feel like I was sleeping better and doing better, and then had follow-up sessions, and it just gradually definitely evened out and felt better. And as the sleep improved, the depression decreased. My progesterone level was extremely low. My serotonin level was extremely low. And I was taking supplements for progesterone, and it was helping, but it just was not like I had tried, counseling. I had tried whatever doctors said to do, and this was kind of like that stepping stone of getting me started as far as, okay, yes, there is, hope, light at the end of the tunnel. I know that things are right. I mean, I'm, back to work. I'm, mom of 2 that are in college. So life is good.
I want to share a little something more about her story, because she was so early on. She was in our first office, and she came in, the doctor had put her on medications to increase her serotonin. And she said, well, what if this technology could help me with that? And he said, no, if your brain is not making serotonin, it will never make serotonin. So she stayed on that medication because she couldn't afford to not have the serotonin.
Sure.
And it wasn't long after that she had like an episode, a real intense episode, and what they discovered is her body started making serotonin, and she had too much serotonin because of the medication.
So she
had to get off the medication, and now her body was making its own serotonin. That was really exciting for us.
Yeah,
that just started.
sure.
That was one of those windows. Where it was like, wow, this can do even more than we knew.
Wow.
And that's beautiful. And I want to tell you, she's so sweet. She's back to work. She's also leading a large Bible study. She sends out a newsletter every week. She is on mission for the Lord, and it is phenomenal to watch what she's doing with her life.
Well, and I'm sure thousands of other people have, as you've mentioned, you've helped out. But man, that story, I think it resonates with so many people that are listening right now. I would imagine if I took a hand count, there'd be about 10,000 hands going up right now in this audience going, that's me,
Right?
It's so common.
Yeah. Let my friends at Brain Life Center do this for you. Here's the phone number. Start feeling great, guys, please. 248-922-9490. Call today for sure. As always, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome. I always love talking to you guys. You always bring it every single time. So
it's a pleasure.
Thank you. All right. Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for being part of the Home and Health Show. WMUZ 103.5 The Light, Detroit made Bible strong.
Thanks to Julie Lamphere and Dave Sanders of Brain Life Center for joining us today. Experience better focus and concentration, calmness and peace, less anxiety, better performance in school, at home, and at work. Make your appointment with them today. Go to WMUZ.com/Home and Health Show for contact information.